Hello, Deep Six Wrestling fans, and Joe Keery, aka Steve Harrington from Stranger Things. This is another riveting edition of Glorious or Rotten Rewind. I am your host, the Glorious Robbie Rotten, aka the Glorious One, aka Mr. Money in the Bank. This episode is going to focus on WrestleMania VIII, which took place on April 5th, 1992, from the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis, Indiana. Um, the national anthem is back, and Reba McEntire is singing it. And she does a pretty good job. I'm a little surprised they brought back the national anthem for this because apparently Vince was really into America the Beautiful because nobody's doing it. Everyone's doing the national anthem, damn it. But whatever. Doesn't really bother me either way. Either one's fine, I guess. But I understand doing America the Beautiful because honestly, everyone does the national anthem, so it's different. First match of the night, we have El Matador Tito Santana, who all of a sudden is a Matador now. The 90s were a weird place. Versus Shawn Michaels with the sensational Sherry. And yes, Shawn Michaels is finally solo, and they have it's his theme music, but Sherry's singing it instead of Shawn, which is, I mean, it made sense for the time. And honestly, Sherry's probably a better singer than Shawn was, but whatever. Um, for these two, you would expect them to have like a barn burner, but it started really slow actually. It didn't really get into it until the latter half of the match, maybe the last 2 or 3 minutes. And it's weird because Shawn hits like a sweet chin music, a super kick, and it's just he doesn't pin him or anything. He doesn't even go for a pin. He just hits him. They call it like a reverse crescent kick or something. It's weird. He did like a teardrop suplex as a finisher at that time, I guess, which is nowhere near as effective or cool. The finish comes when Tito goes for like a body slam, but Shawn holds onto the top rope, and Tito falls backwards, and Shawn falls on top of him for the three, and Shawn wins in a less than stellar match. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't anywhere near the standards I would expect from these two, especially Shawn Michaels, who went on to become one of the greatest of all time. So, it was all right. Definitely weaker match than I expected. Match number two, we have Jake the Snake Roberts, who's a heel here. Actually, he doesn't even have the Snake out there with him, versus the Undertaker with Paul Bearer. And yeah, this is obviously going to be just basically an exhibition for the Undertaker yet again. And there's some solid stuff in the match. Jake hits a DDT, and Undertaker just sits straight up. That was pretty cool. Undertaker's gonna get the win here with a tombstone on the outside. Then he pushes Jake back in the ring and pins him with his classic like arms over the chest, tongue out cover, which I've always loved. That's always just so unique to him. It's great. And this match was fine for what it was. It wasn't like a special match in any way, but it was fine. No problem with it here. And Undertaker's gonna extend his streak. Next up, we had the Intercontinental Championship match between Roddy Piper and the newly solo Bret the Hitman Hart. And that's kind of weird, Bret and Shawn paralleling each other here, both breaking off from their tag teams, solo competitors now. I like it. This was like, this told a really good story of like mutual respect between the two guys. There was no love lost, you could see, but like there was respect too, so it was good stuff. They had really good chemistry, worked well together. Roddy Piper's matches are always fun and chaotic, and Bret was actually busted open from, I don't know, a bulldog or something on the mat. So that really, I think, it enhanced the story a little bit. And we got to a point where there was a ref bump, and Piper goes out and grabs the ring bell and acts like he's going to hit Bret. And then he has second thoughts and kind of hesitates and then doesn't do it because he has so much respect for Bret. And then this ends up being his downfall because Bret kind of does like a spot where he runs up the turnbuckles and flips over and pins Piper to the mat like that. 1, 2, 3. Bret is your new Intercontinental Champion. And this was like a really nice match, really good passing of the torch moment here. And obviously Bret's going to go on and become a huge star, so it worked out. And this was great. I would give this a glorious 100%. Really enjoyed this match, and both guys worked really hard. Good stuff here. Next up, we had an 8-man tag team match between the Mountie, the Repo Man, and the Nasty Boys with Jimmy Hart versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Virgil, Sergeant Slaughter, and the Big Boss Man. 2 super random teams here. And this was just kind of here to get guys on the card, I guess. I don't know. I'm so glad the Repo Man is finally here. I can't believe this was even a gimmick. You know, there were a lot of weird gimmicks back then, but this has got to be like a bottom 10 gimmick of all time. Especially since the guy playing it was in Demolition the year before. Demolition was one of the best, or one of the at least most over tag teams of all time, you know, like, and then he goes on to become the Repo Man. Oh man, that's weird. But 90s, gotta love the early 90s. Woo. The babyfaces win when one of the Nasty Boys accidentally hits the other one. Then Hacksaw throws them out of the ring, and then Virgil gets the pin on the other Nasty Boy. And this was just kind of there to get guys on the card. It wasn't super long, so it didn't really overstay its welcome. But it wasn't good. You know what? I don't even... It was there. I'm not even going to remember that this existed in like a couple days. So, it was just there. Whatever. It happened. And next up is a match that was advertised of one of 2 main events of the night. The WWF Championship match between champion Ric Flair with Mr. Perfect versus Macho Man Randy Savage. And a lot of the build to this match was actually the heels kind of saying there was like a revealing photo of Elizabeth that they were going to show at some point. Spoiler alert, they never did. I guess there was nothing. They were just kind of messing with him. And man, this was a match I saw on paper and was like, oh, this looks great. And I'm happy to say that I didn't know the outcome of this match going in. So it was really special. Obviously, these two are amazing superstars. And they actually had really good chemistry. They told a really good story in the ring. I really enjoyed this. You know, Flair did his typical thing where someone whips him into the turnbuckles and he like hits him and then flips over him and lands on the apron. He did this and then like landed on the apron and then ran to the top rope on the other side and went for like a diving move and then got caught. It just looked insane. Flair actually ended up getting busted open when Macho hit a double axe handle and Flair went like flying into the barricade and hit his face. There were just a lot of really good false finishes in this too. And like I said, I didn't know the outcome either. So like they even had me. I was like, oh, like I didn't know. It's like, oh yeah, woo, you know. Man, this was so good. Elizabeth ends up coming out and coming to the aid of Macho because Mr. Perfect kept getting involved. And a bunch of people were trying to stop her from like coming to the ring from backstage, like including a young Shane McMahon. He had to be like late teens at this point, maybe early 20s, so young. And the finish comes when Macho Man Randy Savage rolls up Ric Flair for the 3 and becomes your new WWF champion. And what a match. This was incredible. Absolutely glorious for me. One of the better matches I've seen in my viewing so far. Hell of a match, guys. Good stuff. Next up, we had Tatanka versus the model Rick Martel. And Tatanka had like a full Native American tribe at ringside for this. I'm not even kidding. Um, this was just kind of like an exhibition for Tatanka. I guess he was brand new to the company here too, and he wins in a pretty quick match with a high cross body over on Martel, and it kind of looked like it was like very sudden. He even looked surprised that he won. But this was all right for what it was. It did. It was not like it was the action that was there was good. You know, Tatanka was solid, and Martel was really good. So it was decent stuff, and it was fine. I understand having like a short match after the barn burner that Flair and Macho had. So I can understand having something here that wasn't exactly crazy. You know, so it was fine for what it was in my opinion.
As I sit here on the edge of the world, looking down into the crowd of people gathered around, thinking to myself, how did I get this high? My body wants to fall, but my mind is stopping me now, screaming, help me from the inside. I'm terrified to fall.
Next up, we had the WWF Tag Team Championship match between Money Inc., IRS, and Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase with Jimmy Hart versus the Natural Disasters, Earthquake, and Typhoon. And fun fact, I was briefly in a band named after Earthquake. That is true. Um, you know what? I really expected this to be not very good and slow and bad, but this was okay for what it was actually. DiBiase and IRS actually worked overtime here and made this okay. I'm not gonna say it was a good match, but it was all right. Um, you know, they actually controlled more of the match than I expected them to, and it wasn't too bad. Um, the finish comes when the heels just kind of leave because they're tired of getting beat up by the natural disasters, and Earthquake and Typhoon win by countout. And you know what? They don't celebrate. They know that they didn't win the tag titles, and they're actually upset about it. Good job. That's actual like realistic thinking there. So you know what? For that fact, fine by me. Totally fine by me. Next up, we have Owen Hart, who's being called the Rocket here, versus Skinner. And Owen Hart's gear is like atrocious. It's one of the worst sets of gear I've like ever seen in my life. It's like really baggy and it's like blue and pink and like has like checkerboard patterns too. It looks horrible. This is not even really a match. Owen Hart wins in like probably a minute with a victory roll. And why was this even on WrestleMania? Like, I understand you're trying to get people on the card, showcase everybody, but give them 5 minutes, something. Why? I don't know, man. This gets a rotten for me just for the simple fact that it shouldn't have even been here. Silly. And we have the second main event, which is, you know, the actual main event. And you know what? The title match should have gone on last. Definitely should have gone on last. But it didn't. Because we had Hulk Hogan versus Sid Justice. And you know what? This feels like a new era because it's barely any of the old stars still, you know? It's just Hogan and Savage and a couple other guys. And the rest of them are like brand new people, which is cool. I really enjoyed that. But this match, I didn't enjoy so much because it was slow and plotting and not very good. Hogan beats the hell out of Sid before the bell, but once the action gets going, it's not that much action. I don't even know what to say about this. It wasn't good. It definitely wasn't main event caliber. Is this the worst main event in WrestleMania history? I don't know. So far, this and King Kong Bundy are like toss-up. They're both pretty bad. There's just nothing good to say about this. Hogan hits a leg drop, and then Sid kicks out at 2, and then the ref just calls for the bell. Like, you're disqualified because you kicked out of the leg drop. How dare you? Oh my god. And then Papa Shango comes running down. I mean, obviously the story is Papa Shango was supposed to come down and break up the pin so that, he didn't kick out and get disqualified. But it would have been a disqualification anyway. But anyway, whatever. He comes down and he and Sid start beating up on Hogan, and then Warrior comes down and makes the save, and then Warrior and Hogan have this big celebration in the center of the ring. But the main event of WrestleMania ended in a disqualification. That's terrible. That's idiotic. Never should have happened. I hope it never happens again. It's just stupid. I don't understand the booking here. Absolutely a rotten. The match was terrible. The finish was terrible. It ruined what was otherwise a very solid WrestleMania, in my opinion. Stupid. But you know what? As a whole, this WrestleMania was pretty good overall. There's a lot of forgettable stuff, but I just call it pretty good, I guess, because of the excellent title matches between Macho Man and Ric Flair, and Roddy Piper and Bret Hart. Those two matches were great, and they kind of made up for everything else on the card. But you know what? This wasn't offensive. I kind of liked it too because it was short. It was under 3 hours. It was like 2 hours and 40 minutes. So it went by fast. All the other ones so far, except for WrestleMania 1, have been like 3.5 hours. So this went by pretty fast for me. Also, it felt kind of fresh, like a new era, because a lot of newer superstars on it. And every single superstar had entrance music. Today is the day, guys. Today is the day. And I'm happy. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to us here on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling. And also like us on Facebook at Deep Six Wrestling. Have a glorious day.